What's up, everybody? Back at you with another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the video. We got a guest on today. We're going to talk about the streets in Jacksonville. This brother's been on the show before. He was part of the 211 crew. Dangerous dude, put in a lot of work. He's the dude that people talk about on YouTube channels. He's that type of dude. But anyway, man, a kid got out, started his own business, and something drastic just happened over there in Jacksonville. But I'm going to let him talk about it. Tell the people who you are, brother, where you're from, and talk a little bit about you.
What's up? My name's Larry. I'm originally from Alaska. I ended up catching some charges up there, which led me to a prison in Colorado. I've done 14 years total, but my longest in prison time was 10 years. I did in the Colorado system because I caught charges while in prison, in a private prison, which then that state charged me and I got moved to their system. So I've never really been on the streets in Colorado, just in prison. But after that 10-year sentence, I came home. I started screwing up when I first got home, and my family they weren't having it again. They said, "No, if you go back, we're not going to be with you this time." So I met an awesome woman, and she made me want to change. She gave me a reason to want to stay out here. Because at first, I really I wanted to go back. It was easier in there. But since then, I've opened, I started out at cooking in a restaurant for about 2 years. Then I started roofing after that, and then I just decided to open my own construction company. And I went and did all my licensing and everything that I was supposed to. And I started out working by myself and having a helper every once in a while. And at the current moment, I have 5 guys working for me. I make payroll every single week. I'm doing all right. Not doing the greatest, but I'm doing all right.
You know, you got an inspirational story, man. You were part of that 211 crew, definitely a dangerous prison gang or gang in general.
Yeah.
And, you put in some work in prison, right?
I have put in quite a bit of work. I've caught charges while in prison. I've spent probably half, if not a little more than half of my 10-year sentence. In fact, I know I spent more. Spent 7.5 years in a single cell, walk alone. Well, walk alone for 5 years, and then 2 years in a step down gang unit where we come out 8 people at a time because they just didn't want. I spent, out of that 10 years, I spent probably 18 months on a general population yard. The rest of it was in some sort of disciplinary setting, not because I chose to be behind the door.
No doubt. Let me ask you this, man. What's it like when you got to stab somebody in prison? What's going through your mind?
Honestly, I don't think about it when you do it. I feel bad afterwards. It never hit me. Obviously I wouldn't. I'm not the type of person that just wants to go do it. I don't like committing acts of violence, but when you're in a situation where it's you or them, then I kind of just put it away in the back of my mind and don't think about it till it's after it's done. You don't just complete the mission or become the mission, basically. So, when it's all said and done, I'm not going to lie, when those gang coordinators and the IGI showing up at your door talking about this guy's going to press charges, or if he doesn't make it, you're going to do the rest of your life in prison. That's when you really start thinking about it. I never really thought about it before then. I go back there and laugh with the fellas, and
do you think sometimes
I feel like a scumbag about it?
Yeah. So when they're talking about that stuff, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, you're over there with the fellas, you're laughing, you're joking," but deep in your heart, you're thinking like, "Damn, bro, I don't really want a new case," right?
At the time, I don't really want a new case, and then I start at this point in my life, I feel bad about. That could have very easily been me. That was in the other, but I mean, I understand some people, yeah, they told or they did something really drastically fucked up, but I mean, I've really hurt people over not paying back a bag of chips, and it doesn't feel good. I mean, I think about it now and I feel really bad for some of the shit that I've done.
I mean, those are the realities of prison, man. What's one thing that you really regret?
I mean, in my case, I regret ever committing to a gang because walking away from it was hard. And the shit that you had to do and go through to be part of it doesn't, I mean, just keeping it real is, you kind of got to be a scumbag.
You ever feel like the big homies use younger dudes that come in, man, to their advantage? Like, man, I'm going to send this kid over here to stab the dude. Because they're not, they don't want to do the shit. They don't want the repercussions, right?
Absolutely. I got a really good friend that he was also part of 211 crew. And we were just talking about it the other day. Before I was ever even 211, I probably put in more work than a lot of the dudes that were already bona fide, had their numbers, and because ain't nobody trying to lose what they got, lose their phone calls, lose their privileges, except for the guy that's trying to make a name or has a chip on his shoulder. So they absolutely use you to do stuff that if you told them no, they're going to find somebody to do it to you, but they're not going to do it to you. If I was locked in a pod with the top ranking member, I could spit in his face and he probably wouldn't do shit because he doesn't have a do boy to do it for him.
You see a lot of that with gangs, especially a lot of white gangs, man. They got do boys, right?
Well, there's that, and I'm not going to say it's because they're like afraid of anybody else, but the stigma that comes with being in an all-white gang is you try to portray that, oh, we're not racist, even if you are, because you don't want everybody to hate you for being racist, but at the same time, you're not doing anything besides preying upon your own people. I mean, I've been in more fights, and I don't think I've ever went on a mission that was against another gang or another race that was an actual bona fide mission. I mean, yeah, shit pops off and shit like arises where there's little riots or melees or disagreements with another group. But anytime you're told to go do something, it's to another white dude.
Did that bother you when you got people telling me, hey man, we're for the white dudes and this and that, and then you got to go massacre a white dude? Does that bother you?
It does, because I mean, if you're really about your people, then you should be trying to lift your people up. I'm all for my people. I'm proud to be white. I don't think that anybody should not be proud of who they are, but I don't hate somebody else because they're not white.
Fair enough. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about, I'm going to take you out of the white prison gang politics, and we're going to talk about what you're doing in your life now. You came out, there's a lot of dudes that get out of prison, and they're like, damn, man, I can't make it, man. This shit's too hard. But, man, you went out there, you worked for 2 years as a cook, you became a roofer, and then you're like, you know what, man, why am I working for this dude when I can start my own company? And you got a helper, you're out there working. So you're from Alaska, but you're in Jacksonville. What's it like for a dude from Alaska to wind up in Jacksonville?
Well, I mean, I've been coming down here my whole life. My grandparents are from here. Or they're from a little bit south of here, about 45 minutes south. But I've been coming to Florida my whole life in the summer times as a kid. I wasn't out in the streets when I was a kid per se, but as I got older, I mean, we did stuff, but I ended up in Jacksonville because my parents live in a place called Palm Coast, and it's basically a retirement community. It's by Daytona, but it's real. I don't want to say rich, but it's upper class, and it's a lot of retired people. And I mean, I'm covered in tattoos. I got tattoos on my face. I had that prison swag when I come out. I mean, nobody wanted to hire me. I couldn't find a job out there, so I ended up in Jacksonville because it's a bigger city. It's more accepting. There's more opportunities here.
So now you're in Jacksonville. You own your own company. Tell the people what you're doing and the contracts and stuff that you got, because we're about to go somewhere about, one of your employees that ends up getting murdered, but we'll get there.
So I remodel and renovate homes. We have larger companies that go in and buy the houses. They buy a lot of the homes in the hood, a lot of the houses that were trap houses that have been vacant for 5, 6, 10 years. Who knows how long they've been vacant? And they're not in good neighborhoods. I mean, they're in Jacksonville, for one, is the highest violent crime and murder rate in Florida. And I know that sounds hard to believe, but it beats out Miami, Daytona, Ocala, Orlando. I mean, Tampa, it's very, very, I think we have, and they have a very low solved crime rate here. So out of, I think we're at like 93 murders and keep in mind, I mean, we're under 1 million people as well. Okay. So we got 93 murders, and I think 43% are solved this year.
So you got these contracts. These people are buying these houses in the hood, right? Do you think I want to ask you something. Are they buying these houses because they care about the community, or is it just all they really want is profit?
I mean, they're not. Ultimately, it's about money. Absolutely, they're not buying it to help anybody. They're buying it because they're wanting a profit, but at the same time, they're trying to buy large portions of these seedy communities and try to change them over. I mean, it's not happening. They go in and buy a house, and then we go in and remodel it, and they still only get $1,500 a month in rent, and then they'll take a HUD voucher, and because it's a guaranteed check every first of the month, and these people just destroy the houses, or within 6 months they turn back into a trap house, or just the community's not changing. It's not, but that ultimately it's a profit, absolutely.
All right. I mean, fair enough. It's understandable, right? That's how the world works. But anyway, you're fixing up these houses. You get one of your employees. They call you on a Sunday and says, "Hey, on a Saturday, tell the people what happens."
So, like right before Labor Day weekend, we had a guy, and I work with a GC as well. I'm not an actual GC. I'm a registered contractor, so I'm like second in line. There's a GC, and then there's me, and then I hire the crews, and I run the crews. So we had a guy working for us, and he calls up on Saturday, and we let people. We have, I think right now we have 42 houses, and normally we'll have 2, sometimes 3 working in the houses until they get to a certain point. Then once they're a certain point, I don't need to pay 3 guys to go into a house to lay quarter around. So I send these guys by themselves. I mean, so it's broad daylight. It's keeping it real. I'm not going in these neighborhoods after dark by myself. I swear to God, when it gets dark, I get in my truck and I leave. And that's just what it is. But during the daytime, I mean, sometimes it's unnerving. I'll walk into these houses, and there'll be people in there sleeping. I'll go in there at 7, 8 in the morning. There'll be crackheads in there sleeping. And you find dope pipes and I mean, all kinds of shit all the time. I went in a house one day and we found backpacks full of fentanyl and scales and dope bags, coke, all kinds of shit. So they're selling dope out of these houses. They're using them for prostitution to turn tricks in. Some of them are sleeping in them. But they've been abandoned for years, so they don't care. I really feel like they own those houses, even though they don't.
They act like it's their house, and it's not their house. You're there remodeling it, trying to put it together. These people break in, and they're like set up shop, right?
Yep.
You talked about the guy with the backpack. I mean, more happened with that, right?
Yeah. So I walk in the house. It was on a Thursday. In fact, it was right before this happened. So it was a Thursday. Go in the house, and the main house, and then they have a shed that's remodeled into like a mother-in-law suite. Well, I hadn't been to this house for probably about 3 weeks in the mother-in-law suite. I'd walked through the regular house, but I'm not even thinking about looking around the whole property. I drive past, no windows are broke, doors shut, no people sitting around, no cars in the driveway. For the most part, I'm not working there. Okay, move on to the next. Well, we were over there working, and I went in there, and there's about 7 to 10 backpacks in this shed, which is a mother-in-law suite. It's got locks on the doors, bathroom. I mean, it's another mini house. Well, I start moving the backpacks into the main house to start going through them and seeing what the hell they are. I don't know what they are. Well, as I'm doing it, I flip through, and a bunch of dope baggies hit the ground, and there's bags of dope and scales, and there's like one of the bags was full of iPhones and headphones, and just, I mean, you could obviously tell someone had been selling dope, bagging dope at this house, and selling dope and trading for items, basically. Which, I mean, I used to do that when I knew what it was. I used to do the same shit, not in an abandoned house, but I mean, I knew someone was selling dope there. Well, in the process of me moving this stuff over, this dude pulls up on a little motorcycle, and he's like, "Hey, man, all that stuff in there is mine. Let me have it back." So, man, I ain't giving you nothing back. I don't know that this is your shit. Well, he starts arguing. He doesn't really argue with me. He starts being nice with me at first. He's like, "Oh, man, I see. I can look at you and tell you've been where I'm at before, dude. Just give me my stuff back. Come on, bro. I'm homeless. That's all my stuff." I'm looking at the dude. I'm not believing these. I mean, he might be, but I could tell the dude's a dope dealer. So I tell him, I said, "Look, dude, take your stuff and get it off my property. Don't come back. If I walk in one of these houses and I see somebody in there, it's my house. I'm going to take it as a threat, and I'm going to act accordingly. If I see you in the house, I mean, and it is what it is. I'm a business owner. I have to call the police. I mean, you break into my property. If you break into my house, I gotta handle it somehow. I'm not gonna go out here and shoot you in the face, so I gotta call the police." Well, then he was like, "Man, just give me my stuff. We won't have no problems." So I give him the stuff back, and as soon as I give him his stuff back, his demeanor changed. And then I turned into, "I'm just a bitch ass cracker, and do you know where you're at? Do you know who I am? You're in my neighborhood." And so I said, "Dude, just get your stuff and go. I gave you your stuff back, and just go." So he said, "I got something for you. I got something for you. You'll see. You're going to find out who I am." Well, then he makes a phone call. We're locking up the house, and he makes a phone call, and a car pulls up, and there's probably like 6 or 7 little youngsters, probably 18 to 25 years old. They're standing across the street, and keep in mind, they're all black dudes. We're in a neighborhood where we're literally the only white people there. And they're yelling across the street at us, "Bitch ass cracker, get out of our neighborhood." Well, we worked till the end of the day. We didn't have no more problems. I mean, they yelled at us. They talked shit all day long, but nobody came over there. And so we leave. Friday comes, we have no problems. Saturday comes around, and one of the crew members, and he was at that house that day, he says, "I need some extra money. Can I work today?" And we told him, we said, "Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what house you're going to." So he picks a house, and it's within the neighborhood, but it's not like directly at the same house. But he goes over there. He calls from Home Depot and gets us to buy materials. And then about noon, he texts and he says, "We might want to think about having groups of 2 or more work on these houses. I don't feel comfortable. There's some shady character." His exact words were, "There's shady characters around, and I feel like somebody has bad intentions today." So we tell him, Well, if you're uncomfortable, go home. Nobody's forcing you to work. We're not. I mean, it's not a case of work or you're fired.
Yeah.
If you feel uncomfortable, go home. There's nobody else to work with you right now. Nobody else wants to work today because it's a Saturday. Everybody wants their weekends. So he never texts again. Well, 5 o'clock the night comes around. I call him and I go straight to voicemail. I start texting him and it's going undelivered, because I'm on an iPhone, so I know when my messages are delivered or not. So I'm thinking that's kind of odd because this dude always, like even at these job sites, he'll have his phone plugged in on the windowsill. He never lets his phone die. So I think, well, it's kind of weird, but he's a grown man. Maybe he took off, went out with some chick or whatever. So Sunday rolls around, I call him, nothing, undelivered, voicemail. So now we're like, man, I wonder where Mark went. Well, then Monday rolls around, he doesn't show up for work. And now we're starting to be like, whoa, something's weird because this dude shows up for work. He's very reliable. He's never had a drug problem in his life. He doesn't have an alcohol problem. He shows up for work and he does the job and he goes home. And he's the type of dude that wants to work on Saturdays. So now everyone's kind of thinking, well, where could Mark be at? Well, then Tuesday, his roommate calls and says, hey, has anybody seen Mark? We haven't seen him since Saturday. He missed a family barbecue. Nobody knows where he's at. Nobody's heard from him. His phone's going straight to voicemail. So now we're like, man, that's something's off. So the general contractor calls me and he says, hey, where was Mark working on Saturday? So I tell him which house he was working at. He says, well, meet me over there. So we went over there and we walked up, and first thing you notice is there's tools on the front. Mark's tools are laying all over the front porch. And this is in a neighborhood that, I mean, I've had stuff stolen off my truck while I'm 10 feet away. Like, there's no way these tools should be sitting on this porch since Saturday.
Yeah.
Somebody should have stole them unless something bad happened here and people know don't come up here. So we walk around the house, the front door's shut, get around the back of the house, and the back door's cracked. We go open the door, and I mean, you can smell fire. That's all you can smell is fire. You can go in the house, and the front room is burnt. We just put down flooring and just redid all the paint. I mean, this house was damn near done. The front room's all burnt. There's fire marks up the wall. It was an old plaster house, so I mean, it looked like someone tried to catch the house on fire, and it didn't burn because it's plaster. So nothing actually went up in flames. And there's fire marks all the way down the hall, and you get down the hall, and here's Mark in the bathroom, tied up with an extension cord, dead.
Damn.
His wallet's gone, his car's gone, his phone's gone. Well, obviously we left. We called 911. They went in there. They still haven't released the cause of death, but I mean, I'm hoping he didn't get burned. I mean, his body was burnt. They poured gasoline on his body. Whoever did it poured gasoline on his body, tried to burn the house. And I mean, tied him up. And in my mind, I mean, I'm 6'2", 240. You're not, and Mark's damn near the same size as me. You're not tying me up. Not by yourself. You're not. I don't care who you are. It's gonna take more than one person to tie me up. So obviously, I think more than one person did it.
Let me ask you this though: they ended up arresting a dude for that, right?
So check this out. The same night that we found his body, they arrest somebody driving his car. Wow. The dude has visible blood stains on his pants and on his shoes. So then they start backtracking. They have the surveillance camera of him at a gas station a block away from the house, filling up a gas can. The dude has the keys to our house where the body's at in his pocket, and they charged him with vehicle theft.
And he had just been out of prison for about 30 days, right?
Yeah, he got out on July 29th. He got out, and this happened right about August 30th.
And they charged him with they never charged him with nothing else. I mean, is he out of jail?
No, I can't find him in the database. I don't know if he bailed out, if he went to a minimum farm, whatever. They charged him with vehicle theft, though. They haven't charged him with murder.
Must be wild, man, to find out a dude that works for you, man, gets lit on fire and, killed. He's a big dude, tied up. What does it feel like for you to have to go back in them neighborhoods and go back and work in them houses now?
I mean, it on one hand, I mean, I got a family to support. I got a family that loves me. They don't want me in that environment. I mean, when I'm going into these houses, my wife is on the phone with me now. She doesn't even want me going in these houses without her on the phone. I gotta kind of decide whether, I mean, I can't have a gun, so how I'm a felon, I can't have a gun. Do I want to go in here without a gun, or do I want to risk my freedom by carrying a gun now to do this job? Do I want, I mean, it's definitely difficult, and it's not a situation that I'm exactly all the way comfortable doing. But at the same time, I feel like I can't let some scumbag dictate how I feed my family or how I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing. You're not gonna make me stop. I just have to be more vigilant and watch what the hell is going on around me.
How about the guys that work for you? Did any of them want to quit? Any of them scared?
We did have one guy quit. And
I ain't gonna lie to you, big dog. I might have quit too. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a pretty big boy too, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go in there by myself. I'm not going to these houses by myself. When I even have to do a walkthrough, I bring another guy with me. And I'm not sending anybody to work by themselves at any of these houses. When it starts to get dark outside, and this shit happened in the middle of the day on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, by 3:00, they have his car leaving on a Ring doorbell camera across the street. So it happened between 12 and 3 when he texted us last to the time they saw his car leaving at 3 p.m. So, I mean, it's a Saturday afternoon. It wasn't even, but I'm not going to lie, when it starts getting dark, clean up, pack up, let's go. I don't even want to be over there. But yeah, it definitely makes, I mean, I'm not comfortable doing it, but I make good money. I'm not going to just quit doing it.
Well, listen, man, I understand. I mean, you've been in prison, you've been in some dangerous places, dangerous environments. The streets are wild now, man. You're getting these rappers are getting robbed, killed. Just, I mean, in my city, dude, there's a murder every single day almost, it seems like. Young kids, older people, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're running around here, things are off the chain. But I mean,
I hate to say it like this, but I honestly believe, and I've had other problems over there in that neighborhood, not like crazy problems, but I've definitely had people say I think that Mark, the type of dude he was non-confrontational. He was a registered nurse for most of his life. He has only been in the construction field for about 5 years. He's 44 years old. He moved back to Florida to start over, basically. He got a divorce up in North Carolina, moved back to Florida to start over and start a new career. And he is non-confrontational. He's the type of dude that when we're eating lunch and there's a homeless dude standing outside, hey, are you hungry? I mean, he's not. So I just don't, these dudes had to have, he was targeted. And I honestly feel like because of the neighborhoods we were in, I got a black dude on my crew, and he said, dude, if Mark wasn't white, that wouldn't have happened. And it's just because of the neighborhoods we're in. It's they feel like we're soft or we're an easy target. and then the media portrays, they try to separate everybody, and it sucks because, I mean, we're all the same, but at the same time, they try to create separation, and it's like people are misinformed about what's really going on. And I really feel like he was targeted because he was white and because he was in the wrong neighborhood.
I mean, it's possible, right? Or maybe that dude just, that dude if the dude had the blood on him and he's in the dude's car, the dude got out of prison, maybe he was getting high and he's like, look, man, maybe he was and he's like, man, I'm about to rob this dude, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But listen,
$2,000 worth of tools still laying on the porch.
I mean, hey, in haste, maybe he's like, man, look, he took his wallet, took whatever money he's got, took his vehicle.
Yeah.
He's not looking to sell tools at the time, maybe, but
yeah.
Before we, I appreciate you coming on and talking about that because, the streets are wild. Jacksonville's a wild place. But senseless.
Like that over the United States.
For sure. It's just senseless violence, man. But before we get ready to go, man, is there anything you want to say or whatever? I mean, go ahead and say it.
I mean, so Mark was an awesome dude. He doesn't have no family. We're all kind of pitching in a little bit of money to help with we're not really going to do a funeral, but we want to have him properly cremated and get an urn and put him with his mom up in Tennessee. If anybody wants to maybe help with any kind of donation towards helping cover the cost of that, I don't know if that's appropriate to ask or not, but we're not trying to raise a whole bunch of money. We're just trying to get. I got about $400 that I'm putting in. We're trying to get to about $1,500, so he doesn't get. I just don't want the dude to have a potter's and burial and just the state just throw him anywhere.
I hear you. How about that general contractor? They kicking anything?
Yep.
Good. They should.
So I put in 200. He put in 400, and I got one other guy that's gonna put in a couple $100. He said so. I mean, we're probably about halfway there.
I mean, I'll try to make a donation too, just to help out, man. And if people want to do that, that's up to them. I don't usually bring people on here to be like, hey, we need this or we need that, but
yeah, I know, and that's why I said if it's not appropriate,
we'll do what we can. We'll do what we can. If people want to, that's up to them. They can cash app it to me, and I'll cash app it to you, whatever.
All right.
But anyway, man, I appreciate you coming on, and something. I want dudes to know that. Really, I thought this was more of an interview of saying, hey, look, man, this dude was in a gang. He ended up getting out of prison, changed his life. And you can do it too, man. I know it's not easy for dudes to get out of prison and, they got to decide whether they're going to put on them work boots or they're going to go out there and put on them Air Maxes and hit the block. But you know what, man?
I got 5 dudes that work for me, and 3 of them have been to prison. And all 3 of them now, 2 of them, when they started working for me, had no vehicle, no driver's license. We helped them get a driver's license. We helped them get vehicles. Now everybody on my crew has not a brand new vehicle, but they all have vehicles. They're all getting up and going to work every single day. Everyone's feeding their families the legal way, and everybody's happy to be doing it. So if I can do it and they can do it, anybody can do it.
That's what's up, man. I'm going to get ready to close the show, and that's the message, man. Don't give up. Keep pushing, man, and don't ever forget where you came from. It's better to be out there working, man, a real job instead of working in the kitchen for 15 cents an hour and trying to steal peppers and onions to sell when you get back to the unit. But again, Larry, man, I appreciate you coming on, sharing, your experiences and what's going on out there in the street. And I just hope that some of these young dudes wake up and say, man, I don't want to live that life. I'm going to put them work boots on. So I'm going to close the show. Tell people, man, if you like it, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the video. We got some good things coming soon. With respect, Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.